This is the American Roundtable on Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network. I'm Al Spry.
And I'm Bill Strickler.
A full-fledged show for you today. We got Steve Wynn resigning from his own company, Mr. Vegas himself. Also, FBI texts. You won't believe what these texts proclaim and talk about. Very, very naughty stuff. Naughty stuff. Lovers' texts, but not too naughty. This is a family program after all. Also, we'll be talking more about other things like Mr. Rogers getting a stamp. That's some good news. And we'll be also talking about some other things happening in the news. A Tennessee sheriff having just a way too good a time chasing and then shooting a suspect. That and more, of course. Find out more about us at facebook.com/USA Roundtable. This is your weekly look at politics, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, right here from the Sunshine State, beautiful Orlando, Florida. And of course, it's beautiful to live here. We're having some beautiful temperatures. Let's dive right in. Now, we have these FBI lovers. One is named Peter Strzok. The other lover is named Lisa Page. The FBI agent helped James Comey craft the letter reopening the Clinton email investigation. Remember, this happened right before the election. So, Bill, what's going on here with these emails and these texts?
Well, it seems like the general media really shows very little concern about these text messages. And there's been thousands of them. And one revealing thing is that that Obama wanted to know everything that was going on. And I've said from the beginning that this whole situation, I just can't see stopping at a level of the FBI. I mean, you know, the man in charge is probably going to know what's happening.
It almost sounds like a Watergate-like thing, doesn't it?
Well, you got Watergate, but if everybody's saying, oh, let's protect the sanctity of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, he had a file on everybody, private citizens. So it's not like the FBI has had their hands clean the entire time. There are certain times to where they do dabble in things that they shouldn't be getting involved with. And this memo that came out, that the Democrats had said it's going to be the fall of the Western civilization, I think we're better off knowing that you know, people do corrupt things. And we go back to the movie that you and I saw about Snowden. He was talking about FISA and what happened under Bush and Obama. And these things do happen. And the people that were surveilled this last time at Trump Tower, they were private citizens. It just so happened they were running for election.
Yes, in fact, we're running into the end of this segment, but you really want to stay tuned because we're going to tell you what's in some of these texts. Some of it's a bit unbelievable. A little later in the show, of course, Gropergate, which you coined, claims another victim, one Steve Wynn, Mr. Vegas himself having to leave his own company, which he founded many years ago. And this is an incredible story as well. And I think that this type of activity is going to keep being found out, and we'll have to stay on top of that as well. In the meantime, it is American Roundtable, and you are watching us right here, Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network.
Welcome back to American Roundtable. So let's keep talking about these text messages.
Yes. I want to read this to you, Bill. Let's go with the first one. Obviously, POTUS wants to know everything we're doing, POTUS being President of the United States. I thought there's supposed to be some separation there between the FBI and what the President knows and doesn't know. That's a little odd. Also, Strzok and Page, these were lovers. Page with the DOJ, Strzok with the FBI, showing their disdain for Republicans in general, as well as the President of the United States, calling him a, quote, effing idiot. Of course, you got to fill in the effing to see what the total test said. Also, Strzok calls Virginians, people from Virginia who voted against then FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe's wife for a state Senate seat, quote, ignorant hillbillies. Now, what are your thoughts so far on these texts?
Well, it seems that they're very slanted one way and definitely working against Trump. And I've also found some interesting statements there in the text. It turned out that the investigative team had information on Anthony Weiner's laptop about Clinton's emails on September 28th, but didn't give them to Comey until October 27th, a month later. Why was that information withheld? And Page had text back that, quote, meanwhile, we have our task ahead of us. What task was she talking about? Was it to create some issues with Trump? But it certainly was in code. And I think they even had a conversation about the dark society or like an underground society that they were dealing with.
I'm very disappointed with the FBI. You know, you would think that that this would be more of a nonpartisan discussion. However, when it showed that President Trump won the election, the Page wrote, "OMG, this is effing terrifying," in capital letters. "OMG, I am so depressed." OMG meaning, oh my God. Later that month, Page wrote, "I bought all the president's men. Figure I need to brush up on Watergate." Just basically, it was a very partisan, these are very partisan statements. And then back to that statement about Virginians. Quote, "Disappointing, but look at the district map. Loudon is being gentrified, but it's still largely ignorant hillbillies. Good for her for running, but curious if she's energized or never again." So, I'm deciding that there's really something amiss here. I know they're looking at Russia, but maybe we need to look more at our own FBI to see what's going on with this formerly, impeccable organization that basically is supposed to be separate, to be able to do national investigations. It's our largest investigative body. If this is being run like a political arm of the Democrats, then I think we have an issue. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you, Al. And when I take a look at a text and it references about an insurance policy, what was that insurance policy? Was it that Hillary was going to win so they didn't have to worry about it? I mean, there's a lot of things that are made reference to that are unclear, so maybe soon they'll come out. But it doesn't seem like the general media is really even looking at these text messages between somebody in the FBI and somebody in the DOJ.
And here's something else, Bill, that I want to bring up here, and then I want to turn us to Steve Wynn and what's going on with this enveloping this what you call Gropergate or the Weinstein scandal, which is opening up many stories that have been hidden. But what does it say when a government body becomes corrupted, and what does it say, and how do you fix this? What else is going to come out in between these Clinton emails? Of course, we talked about this back in 2016. What dirt hides in the Clinton emails? But I really think it's important, and I think it's very good that things seem to be stirring up and changing for the better. It's something to keep our eyes on. We will continue to follow this story along with this Russia investigation. Whatever comes up, you're going to hear an unvarnished, unbiased delivery on the facts, something you will not get from the mainstream media. This is the American Roundtable. I am Al Spry.
And I'm Bill Strickler.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the American Roundtable, your half hour of political power. You know, we like to call it the no spin half hour right here on American Roundtable. We don't dilly-dally. We don't talk about nonsense. We talk about issues important to you as an American citizen in this country, going through so much changes, so much obfuscation, so much propaganda being delivered. We like to give you what we call the straight dope. Wouldn't you say so, Bill?
I would say so, Al.
Steve Wynn resigning amid sexual misconduct claims. Casino mogul, very, very rich man Steve Wynn resigned recently as chairman of CEO of Wynn Resorts amid sexual misconduct allegations. Quote, "In the last couple of weeks, I found myself the focus of an avalanche of negative publicity, Wynn says, as I've reflected upon the environment that has created one in which a rush to judgment takes precedence over everything else, including the facts. I've reached the conclusion that I cannot continue to be effective in my current roles. The move follows a Wall Street Journal report that a number of women said Wynn harassed or assaulted them, and that one case led to a $7.5 million settlement with a manicurist who said she was forced to have sex with him. Sounds like rape to me. The Las Vegas billionaire has vehemently denied the allegations, which he attributes to a campaign led by his ex-wife. Last month, Wynn resigned as finance chairman of the Republican National Committee. Another black eye for the Republican National Committee. Since 2013, Wynn has contributed nearly $2.4 million to GOP candidates. Of course, he gave 3 times as much to the manicurist. Your thoughts, Bill?
Well, it seems like there's a bunch of black eyes going around, Democrats and Republicans out.
That is true. This is Gropergate after all.
And it's not surprising. There's always been rumors and inside jokes that these things happen, and I'm glad to see women are talking about it. So in the event that they are happening, that guys will have second thoughts and not put themselves out there to lose everything. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And I feel for these women because anytime you're dealing with people of power, then some of them, they try to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And I hope that justice prevails. Ex-Trump University students will finally get paid. Remember Trump University? It was around from 2005 through 2010, run by one Donald J. Trump, currently President of the United States. Lengthy legal battle between Mr. Trump and Trump University students who said they paid thousands of dollars for real estate secrets they never received is finally over. Recently, a judge, an appeals court actually in San Francisco, approving a $25 million settlement that was reached last year. Now it's been approved, rejecting an appeal from a Florida woman who had hoped to cut a separate deal. Sherry Simpson, who said she paid $19,000 for Trump University classes, argued a notice sent to students early in the litigation progress, promised they could opt out at the time the notice was sent, but judges gave notice only one opportunity to opt out existed. The decision also referenced claims that Simpson's challenge was politically motivated to hurt the president. Though Trump quickly agreed to the $25 million settlement after his election victory, his lawyers said he'd be back out if Simpson were granted a trial. Though we are disappointed, all of the lurid facts about the fraud won't receive the public hearing they deserve, according to Simpson's lawyer. She will end her fight. 4,000 students can receive payment now in what the appeals court calls a highly favorable deal. Students are expected to get 80 to 90% of what they paid to the school while it was open. Little what you promise you should deliver on story, don't you think?
Right. And being in business, sometimes when you're at the top, sometimes you know what's going on, or you have people working for you and you give them approval. So, but at least he settled this. $25 million, considering how much money he's got, really is a drop in the bucket. And unfortunately, these people didn't get the service that they paid for, and that's to me, that's the big issue. If you pay something and you're supposed to get something in return, then it's an equal deal. But apparently it wasn't, so give the people back their money.
Yeah, I only say that they should get actually 100% of their money back, not 80 to 90%, but at the same time, something is oftentimes better than nothing. We'll have some final thoughts for you, some other stories we're working on before we end this segment of the American Roundtable on Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network.
Welcome back to American Roundtable. So we're closing the show today, Al. We did cover some pretty interesting subjects, and it seems like there's more and more happening every day. But let's talk about divorce, which is not, I wouldn't say, most people's favorite subject. But the new tax law that's going into effect is benefiting women or the recipient of the funds, as opposed to typically the guy who's been able to write off the alimony. So it is kind of like a shift on who's going to be charged. And I'm glad to see that that the women or the typically the recipient is not being charged for the money.
Yeah, an alimony deduction is going to be erased in 2019, 2 years from now. Well, actually next year, under the new tax plan, as lawyers preparing for a wave of divorces. Of course, eyeing complications for recipients beyond that. Payers long received a tax break on alimony. So if you paid alimony, you could deduct it, right? But after December 31st of this year, alimony will no longer be deductible for the payer. And recipients won't need to pay income tax on it. However, even though this is going to help recipients, primarily women in one sense, they'll suffer in other ways. As lawyer Madeline Marzano-Lensnevich says, and tells Yahoo, a man in the highest income bracket who pays his wife $100,000 in alimony, $85,000 for the woman after taxes, must be nice. Actually pays about $60,000 with the deduction. Without it, he might argue $60,000 is all he can afford to pay, which means the wife will be out $25,000 less than before. See how that works?
Well, the lesson that we learned here is don't
get divorced.
try to work things out with the person you're married to, and save all this red tape. So yes. you know, if you're going through a tough time, try to work it out. Most of the time, it's worth saving. I mean, there had to have been some reason why you married the person in the first place.
That's true.
So let's just, love is always the answer, Al.
I like the way you think, Bill. You're a loving guy. Let's talk about a Tennessee sheriff who was not loving the man he was chasing. He basically said, "I love this S," fill in the blank. You know what he was talking about? The fatal shooting of an unarmed Tennessee man, now the focus of a federal lawsuit, based on footage in which a sheriff suggests he ordered the killing to avoid damage to his police cars. This out of Tennessee, of course, and White County. The shooting of Michael Dial determined to be justified. Another deputy's body camera actually recorded the county sheriff, Adi Shoup, repeating his instructions to deputies who were chasing Dial's 1976 pickup truck. They said, quote, "We're ramming him." I said, "Don't ram him, shoot him. Ain't gonna tear up my car," said Shoup, who was not involved in the chase. "Take him out." In a lawsuit alleging excessive force, it sounds like it to me if you want to know the truth, Dial's widow said her husband was scared, and Shoup's response was proof that a, quote, "malicious and sadistic mindset" entered his brain. Officers had pulled over Dial in Smithville, found he has a suspended license. Then he fled. He panicked, driving 30 and a 50 mile per hour, not exactly doing a super speed here, while pulling a trailer. He rammed police vehicles, veered into oncoming traffic. That's where they were saying, well, he was endangering other people. As it went into a ditch, a reserve deputy and a Sparta police officer together fired at least 7 shots. Dial was struck in the head. Upon arriving on the scene, Shoup noted, "I love this S. God, I tell you what, I thrive on it." Though he says he was unaware of Shoup's comments, the district attorney is sticking by his judgment that the shooting was justified. Dial was dangerous and unstable, quote, and driving towards the Sparta police officer's vehicle when the shots were fired. Your thoughts?
Well, for an expired driver's license, I think it's rather extreme. And there's other ways to stop people, but this goes to show you people's perception of the police nowadays, that they are in fear of their lives. And there's other ways to deal with somebody that has an expired license.
I think it was a bit excessive shooting a guy in the head. I think that police are apt to use more violent methods of subduing, I should say, suspects. But there are other options available. If he already went in a ditch, maybe they feared that how is he still going to ram them? You got to ask these questions. Was 7+ shots necessary? What's the perception of the police? How does it affect the perception of the police? Good questions, Bill.
I think maybe they're watching too many repeats of Dukes of Hazzard now.
Very possible.
We watch violence on TV and in the movies, and then it just gets into our minds, and we become those thoughts.
Here's why you should not use a motor vehicle if you want to kill yourself. Number one, we are not pro-suicide on this show. We don't think you should kill yourself at all. However, if you so do it, don't ram your car into another gentleman's car and kill him. That's what happened to a California woman who now faces life in prison after authorities say she drove into oncoming traffic in an attempt to kill herself, instead killed an Oregon father and aspiring doctor driving to Sacramento to interview for a hospital residency. According to People magazine, authorities say on January 7, 28-year-old Grace Ward sat in her car in a median strip of Interstate 5 for over 7 minutes and thought about suicide. Then she drove into oncoming traffic. Shasta County DA Stephanie Bridget tells the Record Searchlight, says Ward had near misses with 3 cars before colliding with one being driven by 29-year-old Ryan Folsom. Ward broke her leg. Folsom instantly killed. Ward was arrested after being released from the hospital. Now she really feels suicidal because now she faces life in prison.
You know, the thing about it is, if people are feeling that depressed and that low, we had a lady on here from the Mental Health Association of Central Florida. It's okay to get help. If you need to talk to somebody, it's okay. You don't have to worry about the stigma. And one example I read over the weekend is Dwayne Johnson, the big actor.
You're talking about The Rock.
The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
His mom was suicidal. She walked out in the middle of traffic. And I think this was 15 years ago, but I read the article the last couple of days. And if she was successful, she would have never seen her son attain what he has over the last few years.
Well said, Bill. Now, some positive news to end the show. U.S. Post Office putting out a forever stamp, which means you could use it forever, with Mr. Rogers and King Friday the 13th puppet to be unveiled on March 23rd. The image released by the U.S. Postal Service shows a stamp featuring Fred Rogers, one of my favorite people of all time, from the PBS children's television series Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with his King Friday puppet. It's a beautiful day in the postal neighborhood, so we're going to see Mr. Rogers, and then later on this year we'll see Lena Horne, astronaut Sally Ride, and John Lennon featured. This is American Roundtable. We have run out of time. We'll catch you next Sunday morning. Until then, I'm Al Spry.
And I'm Bill Strickland.
Remember to keep it real.
And keep it tough.